I keep it so flow. Stay on go mode. He say I'm sweeter than a mango. Florida baby, how the game go? Florida baby, like the cane go.
I am Shell Alexis, and I am an artist, entrepreneur, and owner of Pretty Little Boss Apparel. Pretty Little Boss Apparel is a clothing line that specializes in professional, active, or athleisure wear, I like to say. And our clothing promotes productivity and versatility for the pretty little boss on the go. So if you out handling business, you run into the gym, you run into the grocery store, handling whatever you need to handle it in Pretty Little Boss Apparel. And I am so happy to be here tonight with my sister Caileigh, owner of Unbrvnded Media, and I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself and her brand. But before you do that, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot. We kind of seen each other grow. Like, we've literally seen each other's businesses sprout from the concrete and just hit the ground running. So this means a lot. So I appreciate you for being here tonight.
I know that. That's right. Yeah. All right. So Caileigh, I run Unbrvnded Media Production. I basically do like production as far as like videography, documentaries, interviews, the whole everything. And I'm working inside of the artist community specifically for like, I don't know, 3 years now. It really all started Shell Shop. So that's what really it all started. Yeah, that's where it all started. It's so crazy. Like, that's where it all started for me. It was like just walking around the block, and having after like walking, like boom, boom, here we are. It's like everybody have a part to play. But
yeah,
that was like the foundational like moment, you know. And I know we didn't even have a camera at the time, and we was like trying to set up like interviews in the back of the car, like, with our phone and stuff. Some of which I don't think I have anymore. But yeah, that was like, this is why I'm here, really. So
yeah. So just a little background. Caileigh and I used to so Caileigh, I met her at her job. She was working at a little local spot, and I used to go up there to eat all the time, and that's how we met. And I told her, you know, I did tattoos, so she ended up coming to the shop because she wanted some ink. She was scary at first, though, so she jumped right in the chair. But that's when she started coming around, and we would hang out, and we actually used to walk. Like, we used to walk the neighborhood every morning, and we would talk about business plans and things like that. So that's why this means so much to me, because, like, when I say we literally saw each other's plans grow and become, it's just crazy for us both to be where we are now, remembering where we were back then.
yeah, no, it is definitely crazy because like during that time, like, I don't even think I had like vision. Like I had ideas, I had like things that I thought I wanted to do or I could do, but like slowly but surely after every conversation, like it just started the position. So a lot of why for the first Unbrvnded it was because I was able to have those conversations with you after our walk. So thank you.
Of course. That's what I'm here for. I'm honored to be able to be in a position to help, to be honest. But on that note, what was that first aha moment, like that first glimpse of your vision that made you feel like, oh, I need to pick this camera up? Or at that moment, I need to pick the phone up?
Oh, man. I feel like when we're in the South, we should talk about so many things that I wish were on camera. Like, I'd be like, dang, that sounded real good. Like, yeah, that makes sense. We should have had that on camera. Like, we should have had that recorded. You know, like, it was like one of those type of conversations that the public need to hear. Like, it was just like, keep it here and stay here. It was like, everybody needs to hear these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just started to, like, start to become like really positive daily sessions. That we was able to, like positively encourage each other in the direction we're headed. Honestly, at that time, I don't even know what direction I was really headed in, like I said before. But now I look back and I say, it was all like seed planning. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that season of my life was just like drop the seeds, drop the seeds, drop the seeds. And then other people along the way came to, water those seeds, and then the Lord brought the harvest. And I think that there definitely is like, steps to your success. Like it definitely doesn't happen like overnight. Sometimes it doesn't even happen in a year. But like look at where you're at right now, because where you're at right now is like a seed planting season always. Even if
Right.
you're in the midst of a harvest, you're still planting seeds for the next one to come. And so always be careful about where you are and who you're around, because it does matter.
That's true. I remember those conversations. I remember every time, like, dang, we should have recorded that. We definitely we was passing back and forth some real gems that I know a lot of other people could have also benefited from, which is honestly one of the reasons why I decided to start this podcast, because I just feel like just these conversations that we have, expressing our experiences about our journeys and everything that we've gone through to make our businesses what they are today. Those some gems. People can collect those and learn from them. So I'm definitely grateful to be in this space that we are both in now. Excited to see where both of our businesses take us in the future. Also, what was your 222 moment? Like that moment where you felt like I'm on the right path. Like that moment of confirmation where God was like, you are in the right place. This is where I have you. This is you're walking in your purpose now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so shout out to Corey Thomas, because like one night, and shout out to Cypher House, because one night I was in Cypher House, rest in peace, and I met Corey Thomas, and I was in the back talking to him about something. I don't know how the conversation ended up going the direction it went, but we wound up like talking about what I do, what I'm passionate about, and he basically gave me an opportunity. And at the time, he ran artist showcases like in different cities,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And he was like, "So, how much would you charge to come out and do interviews?" So I said like an unreasonable price. Honestly, at the time, I don't even think I was worth that much, to be honest. But whatever. So he took it. That's the crazy part. He took it. He was like, "All right, cool, I'll pay you that." And it was like 150. It wasn't like super unreasonable, but still, I didn't even have my feet off the ground yet, really. And I got there, and I just like, I don't know, like one person after the other, and one person after the other, just like started interviewing like 15, 20 people that night. And like on the post production end, it didn't like there was a lot of things that needed to be fixed, but like in the moment, it was like, dang, like this is it, like what I want to be doing, like hearing people's testimonies and stories and like sharing their art and
Right.
like what they're good at and all these types of things. Like it definitely was exactly why I picked up a camera, because I realistically didn't really pick up a camera to do photography or videography. I picked it up to do documentary, so I picked it up to tell stories. And along the way, I kind of picked up the other things, like realizing I can tell stories through those things.
That's awesome. And I love first of all, yeah, shout out to Corey Thomas. I haven't had the pleasure to actually work with him yet, but he's amazing. I see all the things he's doing with the artist showcases and all of that. Amazing. I can always appreciate somebody who wants to create a platform for other people. And I just love it. I love everything that he's doing. But something you said really caught my attention. You said you wasn't worth that much at the time. You were worth that much. You didn't know you was worth that much. But to have people in your corner to see your worth, even when you don't, is just, yeah, that's definitely an aha moment. I've had a couple of those myself, to where you know, I would throw a price out there thinking that's a little high. I know they ain't gonna pay that, and then they just drop it in my cash app, and I'm like, "Oh, you was for real? Oh, okay, I got you." So shout out to everybody who appreciates and values other people's worth, even sometimes more than we do ourselves. That's always great.
Yeah, especially when you're like in a situation of like I was in, which was like I was in a lot of trauma at the time. You know, like I had a lot of like things going on. More on a personal level, but I had just so much stuff going on that I couldn't see straight most of the time. And then,
Right.
you know, like I don't know, it felt like the camera kind of like helped me see a new lens of the world in a way. And like I feel like that's cliche because I would feel like a lot of camera people probably say that, but in the way I was living and what I was going through at the time, I needed like a way out. And even though I was still stuck in that world, it gave me a way out. So
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. So would you say where you are with Unbranded Media right now, where would you say you are in your journey? Like, is it everything you envisioned it to be? Are you still like molding it and getting it to where you see it in your mind, like how you envisioned it?
I'm definitely still molding.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like that's ever really going to stop because I feel like I'm continuing to mold myself and I am my brand. So it's like I don't know, like the name Unbranded is like so powerful for me because it's like before you were branded. So even though I am my brand, I'm still unbranded, like because it continues to like I continue to progress, like I continue to like mold myself into a different person, and therefore my brand kind of like benefits or doesn't benefit off that. Because there's been things about me that my brand has suffered from, you know, and there's been things about me that my brand has benefit off of, and so I'm kind of in a constant position, which I'm cool with. I don't feel like Unbranded Media will ever reach a destination per se. I feel like I just keep, you know, like going as far as I can go with it. There's been many days I want to like give up and like throw in the towel, like whatever. Like there's other videographers, photographers, whatever. Like I don't, you know, this ain't me. Like I don't want to do this anymore. It's too exhausting. It's really hard being like a mom, entrepreneur, and like a girlfriend, like all these different things. And it's a lot to like wrap your head around, especially like as a woman, because I feel like, you know, like we are like required to do a lot, and it does get very overwhelming and like exhausting to the point where like your brain kind of just fries at the point. So so I feel like I'm constantly in a situation holding my business because I'm still going, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like molding your business will never really stop for real. That's something that you really do have to be constant with. And like you said, we're growing as individuals as well. So it'll never stop. And well, if it's working, it'll never stop because as soon as that growth stops, so does the vision. So that's real. I really like that. And then also, you learn so much along the way. There's so many things within business that you could just never see coming until you experience it. So once you're in that position to experience things that you can't even imagine, those experiences will mold you as well as you go. I've had experiences that have made me honestly change my entire business plan, and not per se like change my entire vision, but I've definitely changed my execution route several times just based off of what I'm experiencing at the time.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. Like, I feel like if you're not changing your business plan, then something is like wrong or it's working extremely well. Like, I don't think that there's anything in between, you know?
Yeah, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I definitely believe it's best to keep evolving, because the world around us is evolving. So if we stay the same, it's gonna fall off of it. It might not be immediate, but you got to keep up. You got to keep up with the ever evolving world. You got to keep up with your evolving self. So definitely, change is always necessary, I believe.
And change, like changing for changing for the right reasons too is like, very like beneficial.
Mhm.
It's like sometimes we can change for the wrong things, like for people, like for because of situations, because of environment and all those type of things. And so I think like molding yourself in the right place is very important because like you
Mhm.
can't change all day, right? Like I change my toothbrush probably about like every 3 to 4 months, maybe even sooner than that. Like because at some point in time, my teeth just don't feel clean no more. I need to
Right.
brush. But if I continue to use that old brush over and over again, even though like yes, it is a benefit to brush my teeth, and yes, like I should brush my teeth every day. At some point in time, I'm not gonna get as clean as I desire, and I think sometimes we have friends like that, or like family,
Mhm.
or we're in physical environments like that, where it's like it's not necessarily extremely toxic per se, and it could technically keep cleaning you, but at some point in time it becomes dull. Like, and you
Right.
need an iron sharpens iron environment in order to function.
Mhm. That's a fact. You touched on this a little bit, but I kind of want you to elaborate a little bit on unbranded media, the birth of the name unbranded media. Where did that come from, and how does that align with your vision?
All right, so Movement was a podcast between me and Noah Wilburn at the time. Now he runs Creative. Shout out. But
Shout out to Noah.
yeah, so he was actually like a pivotal person in this whole thing as well. Like after I left your shop, he was like the next stop, and
Hmm.
so I started movement. I started to interview artists like 24/7, like different people around the city, but um, that didn't necessarily fall off because of like anything with me and Noah. It's just our schedules didn't line up. He had started to get more busy, and I think I was going a different route. And I was doing a lot of my interviews high, and I don't smoke anymore. But at that time, I was like doing a lot of my interviews high, and like as I started to like grow out of like the toxic part of myself, like the part I was trying to like heal from, I
Right.
just like to look at myself like that no more. Like it just wasn't attractive to me. It just wasn't appealing. Like it wasn't like professional. Like there's just like a lot of different things. So I was like, I feel like this is gonna become something really big. And I was like, I couldn't keep my train of thought. If I'm gonna be a good interviewer, I couldn't keep my train of thought being an interviewer while being high, and the other person is normally, intoxicated.
Hmm.
So it was very hard to like keep them on track. And so eventually, we kind of, started to slowly but surely like venture out of that. And one day I was at his house, and I don't know, had he just left a business meeting or like what happened, but he used the term like unbranded content or something like that. And he
Hmm.
was talking to someone else on the phone. He wasn't even talking to me. And I was like, okay. So I had to go to a business meeting with AP, and I show up at Tech City here in Alachua, and he's like, so, like, he's helping me out with this too. And he's like, so what are you going to name it? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. And I was like, but this name just like won't go out of my head that I heard Noah say like an hour ago. It's like brain. He just gave me this look like okay, like why aren't you doing that? Like go with that.
Yeah.
He was like he gave me the look of like okay, so you have the name, like what you gonna
Right.
do about
That's
it?
the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And I was like, all right, yeah, I like that, right? So Noah asked me a question though. So like this became my name, right? But the reason it stayed my name is because Noah asked me, "What is your mission statement?" And I had never been asked that question before. I didn't even know what that meant, really, honestly. Um, and I was like, a mission statement, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like my goals, like my vision, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, essentially, I guess a mission statement is kind of like your vision, but it's more like your purpose. Like it's more like more like like your vision, your mission statement is like, all right, so people usually have plan A, plan B, plan C. If this doesn't work, I
Right.
go to it. No, a mission statement means that no matter what you do inside of those plans, it all leads back to one place.
Right.
Like everything in the circle leads back. It's a funnel. Like it all funnels back into this one thing. Like, and so my mission statement was to talk about the things that hinder people from living. And it took me a while to think about that, but like I was praying about it, and I promise, like Holy Spirit just like dropped the phrase in me. Like it really just wasn't even me, to be honest. And I was like, you know what? Like that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I want to use my brand to like talk about the things that hindered people from living prior to their artistry, right? Like, why did you pick up a paintbrush, or like, why did you pick up a camera, or why did you pick up a microphone, you know, and all these types of things. I think about like, why did you pick up like clippers? You feel me? Why did you pick up like anything, right? Like a tattoo brush. Like, why did you pick up all these things? And I think that like hearing the stories of how their art was birthed is something that I was very interested in being able to share with everybody. So that's kind of where all of that started for me.
I love that. I love the idea too of one thing that I love about what you do is it's not a lot of people doing it, for one, and for two, I don't think people really realize just how important it is to document the journey. Like, I was watching, y'all forgive me, I don't remember what it was called, but it was that documentary made about Kanye West.
Yeah.
And
That's what I want to see.
it never saw the light of day for so many years. But when it came out, and of course, this is back before Kanye was Kanye. So when it came out, it's just like, you know how we place Kanye nowadays. Like Kanye is Kanye. And to watch his journey from before he was Kanye to now, it just like it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
But we have a Kanye in all of us. But a lot of times we don't get the opportunity to document that journey.
Yeah.
So I think that's such a beautiful thing for artists or creatives, business owners, whoever, anybody, to get to look back at this footage before they became who they envisioned they would be.
Yeah, I agree. Like when I seen that, I was like, dang, this is exact. Like if I had to show anybody visually what I want to do, or like what I have a desire to do, it was that.
Yeah.
Crazy because I didn't even really watch the whole thing through, but I watched like just the first episode. I was like, yo, like this is the exact type of videographer like I want to be. You know, this is why I picked up a camera. And shout out to Facts Only. He's the first person that I've ever like done like a documentary for. It's still in the making, so nobody really knows about it. But
Facts Only is the truth. Y'all go check him out. He really is the truth.
Yeah, and like he's really like he's really pushed like what my business is really about. Like, and he just wanna be the first person to get a documentary done in the bill, because I feel like this. We live in like more of like a local environment, right? So people don't take themselves serious.
Mm-hmm.
People want to make it to a specific place, but they don't do what needs to be done, right?
Right.
And I'm not like one of those people that's like talking out of my butt, and I know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about because I am very invested into the artist community here in Gainesville, especially like musically. So even though I don't make music and I don't do none of that kind of stuff, it's like for me, I watch. Like I watch. I've been documenting some of these people from when they were scared to look at the camera. and now they, you know, so it's like for 3 years, and only been 3 years. It's crazy to think like, all right, on year one, when I was first starting out, some of these people would freeze up when the camera got put on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it's like looking at them like, dang, like that's crazy. But the difference between like a facts only or like a couple other people I could name in the artist community, because there is like more than a few doing stuff outside of the box, like doing stuff that you know one day I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna have this documentation of myself, you know, like and actually like finding it important. Like actually like viewing yourself as a celebrity before you get there, or viewing yourself as high stature before you even get there, and documenting the process, because it shows a lot about how you feel about yourself.
Right. That's a fact.
Yeah.
This is a little bit, we done moved past this, but I want to go back a little bit because I just want to give you your props, because you said something about doing the interviews high and stuff. And I remember when I started shooting, and we did a lot of shoots together, and I'll be high for my photo shoot, and you had to get me together a couple of times. Like, you do not need to smoke before shoots because your eyes be like this. And I'm trying to take your pictures and you can't open your eyes. But that is something that I appreciate, because it sticks with me even now, to like, all right, look, you got some important shit to do. You don't need to smoke. Just, you know, get yourself together, do what you need to do. But as an artist, especially as a tattoo artist, and as a tattoo artist in my own shop too, I got very, very loose with it. Just like, oh, I'm just here. This is my own, like, who gonna tell me not to smoke, you know? And just even painting, it just became my element, to where I was just so used to it. So I thank you for helping me to realize that there are still certain situations that I need to be sober for. So yeah, that's definitely a learning experience for me in my adult entrepreneur world. That was a wake up call I feel like I needed.
For sure, because I think like when I used to smoke, I like convinced myself heavily. I'm like, I'm functional.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I function better like this. What you mean?
I'm an extremely functional pothead. I can do whatever I want, when I want, how I want, right? But like as I started to change, I just like realized just how like untrue that was. It's like, yeah, I was functional in the sense, right? Like I wasn't necessarily being held back. I was functional. I was going to work. Like I was paying my bills. Like I was doing like all the things adults do, right? But like internally, I was unfunctional.
Right.
Externally, it would have looked like I was completely functional. I had everything situated for myself, right? Besides like my weight at the time. Like that was one thing I could say that really got hindered, like externally. Yeah. But everything else stuff was like right in place.
Yeah.
But I was dealing with so much internally that nobody really like knew about. I wasn't functional. And that's the part of me that had to change, because it's cool to put on the show. It's cool to be like, I got it all together. It's cool to say like, oh, I can work a job. I can be high and, you know, answer like the phone, take to go orders out the door, cook your food, bring it back to the table. It's like it was like what's my favorite game is like the girl that does, it's like DoorDash or something like that, but in the game where she like serves the table all by herself. Go. So I used to be like that, right? And I used to say, okay, well, I'm functional. Like I do my job great.
Yeah.
Like I'm amazing at my job. I still feel like I was amazing at that job. But I could have been. Somebody said something one day that like really stuck out to me, and I never forgot it since. Even though you're great at a job, when you're high, you might miss a beat, right? So let's say that you're a producer or an engineer, and you're in the middle of recording somebody or in the middle of making a beat, right? And you're high. And you convince yourself that you get high because it puts you in a creative element, right? But imagine because when you're high, you go on bunny trails a lot. Everyone tends to do that. That you're in the middle of making a beat and you missed that one thing that could have made it at like 10 times better than it actually was, right?
Yeah.
Not saying it didn't turn out functional, not saying it didn't turn out great, but it could have been excellent.
Yeah.
And you cannot function out of the spirit of excellence high. Like, you just can't. Like, it's just not possible. Like, you cannot function out of the spirit of excellence intoxicated. Like, it's just not, it's not it.
Yeah.
And so when I realized that, I was like, dang, I'm kind of doing myself a disservice, because a lot of things that I need to heal from, I can't heal while I'm intoxicated.
Right.
I can't create like I need to create, because I need to create out of the spirit of excellence, and I can't do it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to notice that too, because a lot of times we don't realize that we picked up these coping mechanisms that, like, I mean, you know, even if you're smoking for fun, eventually, like, it kind of becomes a crutch, and you feel like, yeah, I can do anything in smoke. I can do anything in smoke, but we forget, like, how much better we can function without it. And also, it becomes a mask for really healing too. Whether it's alcohol, weed, whatever, like, a lot of times it makes us forget the things that we really need to actively be working to heal from, that will allow us to be better and walking in our purpose.
I agree. Because like you do forget things.
Yeah.
And there are different types of, you know, situations, of course. There are people that do just do that kind of stuff for fun. Me, I wasn't doing it for fun. I was doing it because I was running. You know, that was a big difference. And so, although I never ever did anything outside of that, it almost looks as if I did, because I was just running from everything that was happening internally. Do all this external stuff, and I was masking it. That's exactly what happened. You know, I was masking it, and I masked it so much to the point where I didn't see a problem in it. And that's the big problem. So, you know, when I got out of that situation, guess what I said? Heal. And it was a really tough process, because I'm still healing.
Yeah.
When if I hadn't to those things, I probably would feel that back. But because I masked them for so long, now things are still coming to my face I didn't even know I needed to heal from.
Yeah.
So, you know, you do prolong your process. Right?
You definitely do, yeah. Another question I have for you. I know that your brand is still evolving, but is what your brand is like, do you still have the same vision for your brand now? Looking at the future for your brand, is your vision the same as it was when you first had your first vision of what your business would be, or has that evolved as well?
I would say yes and no. It's like a double-edged sword, that question, because it's like my mission statement is not going to change. I still want to talk about the things that hear people say. I want to talk about testimonials. I want to provide solutions for anyone that may want to be in your shoes one day in their life. You know, whether that be personally or creatively. So I do want to tell stories to other people, because I do feel like it. And I think that there are a lot of things that we do want to keep to ourselves, but we shouldn't, because your story is not your. There are so many people that can be helped by your story. Like,
I agree.
Things that you've been through. And as much as it hurts to talk about those things, there is a time and a place that is best to talk about those things. I'm not saying, like, you know, blurt it out whenever, but when you're healed and you're functional and you can actually tell a testament and provide solution, I feel like that's just so powerful, especially for creators. And for me, I don't feel like that's ever going to, you know, necessarily like change in my brand. The other part of me is like, I'm kind of changing who I do it for, if that makes sense. Because at first it was like, okay, all creators, you know, all artists, all people. I still very much so feel that way, but now when I think about all people, I think about serious people. when I think about all people, I think about people that have actually healed and can provide real time solutions. I don't think about the person that is still going through the trauma and is giving traumatic advice. I think about the person that has went through the trauma and is giving healed advice.
That's real.
Because that's what I want to portray for my brand.
Right.
So, yeah, I want to talk about the things that happened before, like the unbranded part. But when you do come into your branding, I want it to be because you've come into a place of healing where you're able to functionally talk about those things without, like, diving into a deep hole.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that just made me think of something. Do you watch, or have you ever watched, I believe it's called Soft White Underbelly on YouTube, the documentary?
no, I don't think so.
He creates documentaries, but most of the people who he has on the documentaries are absolutely no in no means. They're mostly like homeless. He has a lot of drug addicts and prostitutes. Like most of the people that come on the podcast are in a very low place, but he follows them. He has them come in continuously, like over months and long periods of times, and he document, like he captures their journeys. And yeah, when they first come on, they're a little rough. He's literally pulling people off of the streets,
right,
to interview them and talk to them about their walk with life. And as you see their individual stories progress, it's not always a happy story, but sometimes you see some happy endings and you're like, wow. And you learn from that. Even though you've captured them at their lowest, you are able to see them progress and you see them learning and grasping.
Right.
So I feel like it's beauty in both, but definitely you got to get the moral.
Right.
You got to catch the moral of the story.
I think that, like, I agree. I think that there's beauty in both, like, I definitely think that there's beauty in both. And I think, like, again, there's a time and a place, right? But this is why I feel the way that I feel, and maybe it'll be, like, a little bit more. I'm plugging my phone so I don't lose you. But,
okay.
So this how I look at it, right? Everyone has something that they've healed from, right? That they can freely talk about, whatever, and then there's still a part of them that's hurt, and that's something that we all coexist with. Every single person always coexists in both realms at the same time. Sometimes one can be a little bit thicker than the other, depending on what you're going through. But for the most part, you could, if I ask you, what have you healed from, you could probably answer that, even though right now you might be going through something. And so that, that's definitely like a universal communication right there. But this is how I feel, right? So when I was in a bad place in my life, I do not feel that I was in an appropriate place to give advice to anybody.
Right.
And so what I'm very careful about is asking people to get on a platform that is for the sake of testament when the testament part has not come.
Right.
Because what I don't want to do, and because I never knew who was watching me, and there's a platform for everything, right? But like for me, I never knew who's watching. I don't know if it's a kid. I don't know if it's I don't know who it is, right?
Yeah.
But let's say
what they're going through,
for instance, or let's say it's somebody that is currently going through exactly what it is that you're talking about. Whatever your testament is, they're currently right now going through that, and they're watching. Okay. What I want to be careful about is that person gets the solution part and not the I feel you, dog. Like,
yeah,
I feel where you're coming from. I'm going through the same thing, because what ends up happening is sometimes we make connection with people out of trauma and not like we're moving out of this. We make
Mhm.
we make bonds and soul ties with people that can relate to us, but we oftentimes don't make songs like, soul bonds with people that have been through the same thing and they have solution to give us, right?
You are
Because
absolutely right.
in time, sometimes and most of the time, what we're looking for is we're looking for someone that can feed into the trauma. And although I don't think anyone wants to, stay in that, there are some people that do. And I want to be very careful about who I allow to give advice. Because I know for me, I had a lot of friends during that time that understood me, that, I don't know, like that walked things out with me, that did many different things to make me feel better, but none of them were healing.
Yeah.
And so really at the end of the day, when I did start to heal, I did start to elevate, when I did start to better myself, those people were kind of nowhere to be found, or I had grown so much of myself, I didn't want them around.
Right.
And so, I just want to be very careful about that.
Yeah. And I think that's amazing that you've already been able to understand that about your brand and what you want to put out, because that is real, definitely. So I want to open the floor for any questions that the audience has. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them. But while we're waiting on any questions, Kelly, do you have any advice for anybody with a vision? Anybody that has a vision for whether it's their life, whether it's their in business endeavor or anything. What is your advice for anyone with a vision watching right now?
My favorite Bible verse is John 10:10. For the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So watch who you hang around and watch who's coming to kill, steal, and destroy your vision, because it happens very fast, like a thief in the night.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you don't even remember why you started. You just remember what they told you. And like it's kind of like the saying that you always hear at church, like returning back to your first love. And in that aspect, talking about when you first got saved or when you first had this monumental moment, right? But in creativity, it's the same thing. Return back to your first love, meaning return back to the first initial vision. When all else fails, you return back to the first initial vision. That's something that AB told me a long time ago. He said, if everything else fails, your mission statement is what you always return back to. If you forgot who you are in the middle of, the journey, you always go back to why you started, and it should, handle the rest.
Right.
So.
I love that. Solid advice. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, I have one more question for Caileigh. Do you have any special projects that you're working on right now that we can be on the lookout for?
Right now, I'm really just like trying to rebrand because I haven't really been consistent whatsoever. So I'm trying to become more consistent. As I become more consistent, I hope to, adventure into some more projects. At this time, I'm really like working on a lot, but nothing really outside of the ordinary, just like events and things of that nature. But right now, I'm just trying to rebrand myself because I definitely need some more discipline.
Yeah, I understand that. Rebranding is always nice. I kind of just finished rebranding a lot of my brands myself. It's refreshing sometimes to just rebrand, like repolish it and represent it to your audience. And before we go, I want you to shout out all of your social media platforms and where everybody can follow you at.
Okay, so I just have Instagram and Facebook, but you can follow me at unbranded.media or unbranded.tv on both of those things. Unbranded is spelled with a V instead of an A. So that stands for vision, by the way.
Oh, see,
But
I'm learning something new because I never knew that.
yeah, so originally it was because the name was taken. Like originally, like Unbranded Media, the name was taken. But I was like, no, I'm still using that because they were in a different state anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll just turn the A to a V.
I
And I was
love
like, well,
that.
this is perfect because it's like the vision. Like this is my vision. So yeah, but that's where you can find me at.
Awesome. So y'all make sure y'all go follow Caileigh, support the brand. If you're watching here on Instagram, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are watching live, if you watch the replay later on, still thank you for tuning in. And if you miss it here, you can catch us on YouTube. So please go to the link in the bio and subscribe to the Pretty Little Boss YouTube channel. We have all the episodes of our podcast that are filmed live here are uploaded to the YouTube channel. So make sure y'all go check that out. Also, Pretty Little Boss sale is still going on. All of our t-shirts are $20. So go grab you a t-shirt while you can. It's, I think, about 8 different styles. So there's something for everybody. So make sure y'all go check that out. The link for that is also in the bio. And Caileigh, do you have anything else that you would like to say?
I love you. That's about it.
I love you too, girl. Thank you so much for coming again. I really, really appreciate it. You could have been anywhere else on this beautiful Thursday night, but here you are sitting with me on the Pretty Little Boss podcast, and I'm so happy to have you.
All right, sis.
All right. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
Good night, everybody. We will see you guys next week. Tune in.
Melanated and you blessed. Got a hustle never seen, yeah, she run checks. Don't catch feelings, baby, catch Southwest.